obviously I'm not here today, but I did want to run through a few instructions for you guys, directions, before you get started on your own. Today you're going to get an assignment that's 2 pages long, and they are going to be front and back. And so you'll want to make sure that you have 2 separate pages. The first one saying biochemistry, food, science, that's the front of the first page, and this is how it looks. And the second page on the front should say classmate name / food on the front. Okay? So you're going to get this assignment, and it's talking about biochemistry and food science. So what does that mean? Biochemistry is what we've been talking about through this entire unit. This is what we've been learning about. We've been talking about carbohydrates, lipids, nucleic acids, proteins. And so today what you're going to do is get a chance to do a little exploration on your own. You're actually going to first decide on a food that represents your family or ethnicity. It could be your favorite meal during the holidays. It could be something special that your family eats maybe once a year, or something that you always eat at a certain time of the year. After you find that food item or decide on that food item, one thing I will say is that in this assignment you're going to have to find, or you'll actually have to write in the nutritional food label. And so although a lot of these meals that you're thinking about are probably maybe something home cooked, or maybe you don't know every single ingredient inside of it, but that's okay. What I want you to do is do your absolute best. So maybe one of your favorite meals is fried chicken and macaroni and cheese, okay? What you'll want to do is first of all decide on, okay, first you have the fried chicken. Now, finding the nutritional value or nutritional label for fried chicken can vary. There's going to be lots of different resources that you can find this from. In a little bit, you guys will get iPads, and you'll be able to look this up. You'll want to look for things like the amount of protein, okay? Possibly the carbohydrates, the fats, and we also know fats as lipids. And then our last macromolecule that we talked about were actually nucleic acids, but in here we're going to actually assume that all foods contain nucleic acids, okay? As long as they are things that are organic or that were living at one point, they're definitely going to have DNA or RNA, and that's going to make them have nucleic acids. So these are the 3 main things that you're going to look for: proteins, carbohydrates, fats, also known as lipids. You're going to want to look for saturated and unsaturated. So let's say maybe my favorite meal was fried chicken and maybe some rice as well. Just maybe plain rice, white rice. So I can put white rice here. And I would do the same for this. What I want you to do is take a minute, go ahead and have the video paused, and write down these items. You'll also want to look for the amount of calories in your food. So the total calories will be the other piece that you'll want to get from there. One other hint here before you pause and take a minute to copy this down is for your carbohydrates, you'll want to look at sugars as well. Okay, sugars as well. So the more information you can get on your nutritional label, the better off you're going to be. The easier it is going to be for you. Now, after you fill in your nutritional label, of course you'll want to fill in your food choice and history of your food choice. Maybe it's not something special to your family's history or to your family's background. Maybe it's just something that you really love because it brings back a really good memory. Maybe it's something your grandma would always make for you. Maybe it's something new that you've had at your best friend's house and you just love it. So either way, history of your food choice, where did it come from, where did you first have it, what background does that food come from, And then reason you selected that food. So maybe that's the holiday. You always have it at a specific time of year. Maybe this is what you ask for on your birthday every year. Maybe this is just something you think is really good. Maybe it's something you actually get at the fair, okay? Maybe it's fair food or carnival food that you really enjoy, even though that's probably going to be pretty bad for you. But either way, whatever the food choice is, you'll want to name the food, history of the food choice, where does that food come from, and the reason you selected that food. After that, what you're going to take a look at, and again, you're going to want to take these little notes here to help you, is we're going to look at the nutritional value. Now, we might not have enough iPads for everyone, so if you need to pull out your phone to only do research, then please do that. I'll also go ahead and remind you guys that I don't want a bunch of pictures on the iPads. It takes a long time to clear them out. And with this assignment today, it's going to take you most of the day. And so if you're wasting your time looking at other things, you're not going to be able to have enough time to finish. So please make sure that you're using your time wisely. And if you need help with the iPads, please ask each other. And putting the Wi-Fi to the guest server is probably going to be your best bet. If you're having troubles connecting to the internet, you want to be on the guest server. But for your nutritional value, here again you'll have your proteins, carbohydrates, and lipids. You want to say the amount you have in the food, and right here you can actually write on this paper. This should probably be in grams. Okay, in grams. Digestion, well, once you eat this food, what does it get broken down into? Here's your monomer. Make sure for each part of this assignment you take a second to read the directions first. And then it says constructed. And if you read the directions, it says, and then finally, what can be constructed from the monomers of the organic molecules. So if we're taking those organic molecules, what can we build in our own bodies? What can we build in our bodies? So one thing that we talked about here was that with carbohydrates, well, you can have the carbohydrate cellulose. And cellulose can be used for plants to build up their cell wall. Well, that's a plant, and we're actually animals. So you want to look up what's a protein that animals, specifically humans, build. What's a carbohydrate that specifically humans build? And what is a lipid that specifically humans build? So you want to make sure that you're relating this back to us. So we're taking this unit, the proteins, the carbs, the lipids, and relating it back to us. How does it really relate to us? We know we eat these things, we know our bodies break them down, but what can we actually use them for? And that's what constructed means. Then you want to look at what type of sugar is present. Is it a complex, simple, or both types of sugars? So thinking about monosaccharide for simple, or polysaccharide for more complex, mono meaning one, poly meaning many. What type of lipid is present, unsaturated or saturated? You'll want to go back to your notes and look at that. Is cholesterol present, yes or no? If yes, what type of organic molecule is cholesterol? Is it a carb, lipid, protein, nucleic acid? Which one is it? So you may want to make sure that you go through each of these, and you'll probably have to look up a lot of this information. Some things you might already know, other things you'll need to look up. And the reason why I'm going through this is because I know I'm not here today, but I do want you to have some help and some hints ahead of time. So make sure you're copying down these little side notes to make it a lot easier for you to follow along after. Next it says maintain life processes. You're going to be looking at these two figures. If you look in your notes, that's going to help you find these two images or pictures very similar to it. Another thing you'll want to do while looking at these two figures, and another habit you just want to have in general, is to make sure you're looking at the labels here. So even if you don't know every little bit and piece of this picture, there's probably going to be one or two little labels on here that's going to help you determine what it is. So number one says to list the organic molecules that represent figure A, list the organic molecules that represent figure B. Okay? And this is on the back of the first page. The next thing that you're going to want to do, and I would say after about 20 minutes of you working on your own, then you're going to trade information with your classmates. This process right here should take you no more than 7 minutes. You need to talk to 3 other people, write down their first name, write down the name of the food that they chose, and write down the amount of protein, carbohydrates, and lipids in each of their foods. So here we're going kind of comparing to each other what is the nutritional value of the foods that we chose. Then for your total nutritional value, now you want to add up the total amounts of proteins, carbs, and lipids, and then record those numbers here. The next section, for analysis, the table below displays a few necessary materials in your body. These are the materials that your body needs. So these are things that your body makes on a daily basis. And what you want to decide is which one of these organic molecules is necessary to build this, to build glycogen, to build steroids, to build hair nails, to build hemoglobin, to build these cells. And once you're done determining if it's a carbohydrate or a lipid, then you want to write down the elements that we need. So this one, you'll want to look up these materials, these molecules that your body makes, and then you'll want to decide the organic molecules. Then use your notes to write down what elements are found there. So this is a couple steps right here, 3 different steps. 1, look it up. Decide on which one of these does it need. 2, write down the elements. So the elements are all in your notes. That was cho, that was chanox, that was chanop, okay, without the S. So those are the things that you'll want to write down for our elements. Next, what type of food would provide you with the building blocks to construct the nucleic acids your body needs? So you'll want to think about where do we get our monomer for nucleic acids from? Remember, everything we eat, we're going to break down. And what are those monomers that we need, and where would we get that from? And so I did give you a little hint about that earlier in the video, so if you want to look back for a second and think about that. Number 2, assuming you need at least 10 grams per organic molecule to construct these necessary materials. So 10 grams of proteins, 10 grams of carbohydrates, and 10 grams of lipids. How much of each organic molecule is necessary to construct the necessary components? So what you want to do here is think about, actually, if you get 10 grams per organic molecule, you actually want to relate this question to how much is in your food. So does your food have enough protein? Does your food have enough carbohydrate? Does your food have enough lipids in it? So relate this back to your food. Relate to your food. Does your food contain 10 grams of protein? Does your food contain 10 grams of carbohydrates? Does your food contain 10 grams of lipids? Okay? And that right there, we're just comparing those things. And for the next question, it says, does your food alone, this should say form, for number 3 on the back, form enough organic material to construct all the materials in the table above. Does it form all of those things? And that's a yes or no question. And answering the question above should help you, seeing if you have enough of those things. The rest of these questions are going to be pretty straightforward, and a lot of them are going to come straight from your notes. The first 3 pages are where you're going to really need the internet to be able to look up that information. I will go ahead and say that from question 6 on the back on, these things we haven't really necessarily talked about enzymes yet, and we will be talking about them when I get back tomorrow and after you watch your notes tonight and do your homework tonight about enzymes. But after we do that, this question 6 and on, if you can answer it, great. If you can't, you can wait and hold on. But at the end of the period, I'm going to expect you to turn in your assignments and be finished at number 5. If you're able to move on, that's wonderful and that's great. And you should be able to look up this information and look ahead a little in your notes. But you should at least get through the first 3 pages and up to question 5 on the back. Remember that your assignment has 4 sides. So you should be able to finish the first side where it says biochemistry, food science. You should be able to finish the second side, maintain life processes. You should be able to finish the third side, which is the information from your classmates and the chart and do questions below. Then question 3, 4, 5 on the final page is what you should also be finishing. 6 through 10, after I check through your assignments, when I come back, I'll actually give back to you and you'll be able to finish up the rest of these questions as well as when we finish up the rest of the notes of this unit. Remember that we will have a lab tomorrow, so you'll need to watch the video for the lab tomorrow to be prepared. All right, I hope you guys have a great day, and the iPad should be coming to you guys soon. Have a good day. Please don't forget to do your homework. We do have our first big lab tomorrow.